Today's issue is far too common. What do you do when your manager is toxic? You're doing your best, but your boss undermines you, gets in the way, and micromanages you. Now, I'm all about helping you improve your leadership, but unless you're the CEO, you have a boss. And working with them effectively is a key part of your job as a leader. If you and your boss don't see eye to eye, it can be really difficult to set your own agenda and make sure your team is pulling in the direction the company needs. So today on the Leadership Jetway, we're going to talk about 4 things you should be doing when your boss turns out to be a toxic nightmare. The reason we're talking about toxic managers is that Harry asked me about it. He's been in a leadership role for 4 years and works hard to be a servant leader, always focused on helping his colleagues and clients. His team like working with him, and his customers are really happy with his performance. But he got a new manager recently and said, "This guy's been bullying me since day one. When I bring issues to him, he's rude, blames me for the problems, and offers no help at all in trying to manage the situation. I've explained the impact of his behaviour, but he doesn't listen and nothing's getting better. I'm feeling totally demotivated, lost, and thinking about resigning." Really tough situation. Have you ever had a boss like that, made you feel like not going to work? If you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment. Tell me about what happened and what you did about it. Because I'll bet that the thought of, "I just want to resign to get away," was in there somewhere. Study after study shows that toxic managers and bad leadership are the most common causes of staff leaving. So in your leadership role, you've got to do everything you can not to be like Harry's boss. But our focus today is on what to do when you're in Harry's situation, when your boss is undermining, unsupportive, and probably unaware of what a nightmare they are to work with. I told Harry there are 4 things you need to do to handle a toxic manager and not let the stress of it get too much to handle. And I figured they might be useful for you too. So, when you have a toxic manager, the first thing you need to do is accept that this person isn't going to change. You see, the bell curve is a fact of life. Through your career, the people you work with, your team, your peers, your bosses, will all sit on a bell curve. There are people who are great at one end. You love working with them. You wish everyone was like them. There are people who are fine in the middle. You like them just fine. You work with them just fine. You get on with it without any problems. And at the other end, there are people who are just difficult for you to work with. You don't click, or they're just awkward or annoying. Just make everything seem like a struggle. I'm afraid you can't ignore this bell curve. You can't wish it away. You just have to accept it. You will never move everyone from the difficult end over into the fine part. However clever you are with grievance processes or HR or performance management, ultimately, you need to accept that they're at the difficult end of the bell curve and they're going to stay there, and you have to figure out some strategies to deal with them. The next thing you need to do when you have a toxic boss is focus on your own actions and reactions. Do the right thing. Hold the high ground. You see, you don't control this person's behavior or their manager's behavior or HR's behavior. You only control your actions and reactions. So focus relentlessly on those. Now, Harry has already tried raising things directly. He's been clear with his manager that their behavior is causing problems. But once you've done that, if the behavior doesn't change, you focus on you. Always act in a way that you know you're doing the right thing for yourself, your team, and the company. That way, whenever your toxic boss comes at you, you can always defend yourself from a position of deep personal integrity. Whatever your view is on a situation, even if you think it's going to be different from your boss, make sure you state your opinion and explain why you hold it. So if your boss is toxic, you're going to have to get used to saying things like, "Okay, clearly we disagree here, but I want you to know what I think and why. Even if you want us to go a different way on this, I appreciate you letting me have my say." And you know what? You're not just going to have to say it. Thing number 3, when you have a toxic boss, put everything in writing. Strip away the emotion, focus on the facts, and clarify your approach. Here's a useful shape for how to do this in an email, and I'll copy this text into the description show notes so that you've got it. Okay, it goes like this. "Thanks for our discussion today. I wanted to put down the key points to make sure I'm clear on everything. We discussed this issue. You raised a concern that this stuff. I explained my position was based on these reasons. But you remain firm that you wanted me to act like this. From now on, I will make sure to do this, this, and this. I hope I understood everything correctly. Please let me know if I've missed anything. You're doing 3 things here that are really important. First, putting things in writing really creates clarity on what you're supposed to do and what you're going to do. And if it's all in writing, it's clear and indisputable. Second, you're giving yourself chances to meaningfully engage with your boss on the issues. They might ignore you, they might agree with you, or they might take things in a completely different direction. But all the time, you're learning what your boss thinks and how they react. Third thing you're doing, you're building a record of interactions with your boss in which you look professional, calm, and responsive to their concerns and demands. If ever this gets to HR or some management process, that record is going to be invaluable. You're going to be able to prove you were paying attention to your boss and acting appropriately throughout. So grab that text from the description, reword it for your own purposes, and start recording things right now. And then, the 4th big thing you need to do. When your boss is toxic, it's probably time to start looking for a new job. This person is not going to change. You've already raised your worries with them and it didn't work. Nothing happened, right? And if anything, they got worse. Sure, you could go to their manager or HR or both. But unless this person does something obviously, demonstrably wrong, they get physical or steal something, they're not going to get fired. You are going to have to continue working with them until you change your situation. And if, like Harry, you've done several years in your current job, well, it's probably a good time to be looking for the next challenge anyway. Not least because actually trying to find the next role, having that positive, opportunity-seeking, forward-looking project running alongside the daily grind of working with this nightmare manager will actually help you deal with working with the nightmare manager. Having something positive to look forward to is really important when stuff is difficult. So, key things you have to do when dealing with a toxic boss are: accept their position on the bell curve. They're not going to change. Focus on your actions and reactions and hold on to the high ground. Put everything in writing and probably start looking for your next challenge. And alongside this, make sure you're not a toxic boss. Your team will probably see that your boss is really difficult and they'll probably be bothered by it. You let them know that you've got their backs. Put yourself between your boss and them. Shield them from the toxic. And if you're backing them up, they're going to back you up. Dealing with a toxic boss is never fun, but hopefully these 4 things and the support of your team will make it less stressful. All right, thanks for joining me today and becoming part of the Leadership Jetway Jet Set. I'll see you very soon. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to talk with me about your leadership situation, visit leadershipjetway.com/coaching. I love helping leaders go from overwhelmed and lacking confidence to organised and self-assured. To book a free call now, just visit leadershipjetway.com/coaching.